A few years ago, some Christian friends of mine started sending me links to the Zeitgeist movie, and after viewing the movie I was surprised because even though the second half of the documentary seemed to be a fairly good expose of the schemings of the New World Order, the first part of it was a blast against Christianity, portraying it not only as part of the problem, but perhaps the gist of the problem itself. Well, as it turns out, Zeitgeist was more than a movie, but has become a movement, and this video is intended to expose that it is an Antichrist movement, as in fact, the essential doctrine behind Zeitgeist is that Jesus Christ was nothing but a myth, which is being used to manipulate the masses, and that he never really existed, which the Apostle John describes as the very spirit of Antichrist in his first epistle. Every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. The makers of the Zeitgeist movie claim that Jesus must have obviously been a myth because of the many similarities between Jesus and pagan deities that were worshipped before his time. While other films have attempted to refute Zeitgeist on the grounds that these claims were inaccurate, there is, however, a legitimate reason for the similarities between Jesus and ancient deities, which most Christians are ignorant of because of their fear of astrology. Most of the ancient Egyptian, Assyrian, and Babylonian religions and mythologies, which were later partly adopted by the Greeks and Romans, were based on astrology, namely the story that is foretold in the stars, as the psalmist David wrote nearly 3,000 years ago. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. While it is true that the Old Testament condemns astrology in the sense of using it for divination and soothsaying, the Bible also makes clear that it was God, not the devil, who created the stars for signs, and even mentions some of the constellations in the book of Job as work of God, including the zodiac, also termed Mazzaroth, as the path that the sun takes through these various constellations. And the story that this journey tells reveals just what King David of old meant by "the heavens declare the glory of God." According to Christian authors like William D. Banks, who were not too scared and superstitious to give God the credit for his own creations, the coming of the Messiah was announced and promised in the stars, as we can read from the story they tell in their signs. The star sign Virgo represents the virgin birth, which was going to bring forth the Son of God into the world. Libra, the scales, represent the price which Christ was to pay for mankind on the cross, as evident by the names of the two brightest stars in the constellation, which literally mean the price which is deficient and the price which covers or is sufficient. Scorpio depicts the antagonist of the story and the enemy of Christ, also known as Satan, which is confirmed by the following sign of Sagittarius, the archer, pointing his arrow at Scorpio's tail. It is interesting to note that the book of Revelation depicts Christ as a horseman upon his second coming, and in one of its descriptions, he is given a bow, in accordance with a prophecy in the ancient book of Deuteronomy, in which the Lord is quoted as saying, "I will make my arrows drunk with blood of the leaders of the enemy." Capricorn, the goat, seems to make further references to the sacrifice that Christ, the scapegoat for our sins, was to pay. The name of the second brightest star in this constellation means, "The Lord, Judge, or Sacrifice cometh." Certainly the significance of Aquarius, the water bearer, can quite obviously be recognized in the pouring out of the living waters, the words of life, of which Jesus was the living embodiment. And as he promised, "He that believes in me, from his belly shall flow rivers of living water." Most people know that the secret symbol by which the first Christians identified themselves was a fish, and that some of Jesus' key disciples had been fishermen before he called them to become fishers of men, lending greater significance to the star sign of Pisces. The ancient name of Aries is Tale, meaning the Lamb sent forth, giving further weight to the words of the book of Revelation, which call Jesus the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Taurus, the bull, is a symbol of the show of strength the Messiah will display upon his return and judgment, as derived from the Coptic names of the sign, meaning the one who saves mightily and the chief who comes. The symbol for Taurus is explained by hieroglyphic authorities to resemble a single boat on the surface of the earth, reminding of Noah's Ark, and thus resembling a symbol of judgment. William Banks explains the original symbolism of the Gemini twins as a picture of Christ with his bride, the Church. Cancer represents the flock or fold of Christ's sheep. And finally, Leo is depicted as the royal lion of the tribe of Judah, another symbol of Christ as future ruler and rightful heir to God's eternal kingdom. Originally, I thought that the anti-Christian sentiments of the maker of Zeitgeist were largely based on his own opinion, but as the excellent documentary Zeitgeist Refuted points out, the minds behind the doctrine of Zeitgeist are Luciferian, and are thus following the same NWO agenda as those they pretend to expose. Before you're going to discard Jesus as a myth, remember that his followers are human and make mistakes. It's true that Christians have fought wars in his name, and continue to do so even today, ignoring the very things that are being said in the Gospel and throughout the New Testament about these issues. And it's inevitable that Christians will pay for this, and as the Bible predicts, there will be a war fought against the saints of God in the last days. In other words, there will be worldwide persecution of the church. But before you join the ranks of the persecutors, make sure that you have given Jesus a chance and find out what he had and has to say. Because by discarding Jesus, you will discard the only option, alternative, and way out of the Antichrist dead-end street and New World Order this world is heading for. Read what Jesus had to say in the Gospel and see for yourself whether these be merely mythical rantings of a man who supposedly never existed, or words that can potentially change your life and save you from what's to come. You don't have to go to church to find out what Jesus has to say. Since he has not stopped talking 2,000 years ago, as unfortunately most Christians evidently claim, he is very much alive and ready to prove to you that he is real if you ask him. Give Jesus a chance today and join the resistance against the spirit of Antichrist by receiving God's Spirit instead.
They're making the true heroes look like creeps. What they call news is mostly make-believe. While most of us fall in the trap like sheep. But I can show you the way out. I'll show you the way out. The truth is, the world was no accident, it was planned. The truth is, there is a God and he loves you, my friend. While everything else will be blown away, his love and his truth will be here to stay. No matter how badly you've lost your way, 'cause I can show you the way out. I'll show you the way out. Show you the way out. The truth is, show you the way out. If your life looks like a dead end street, he's gonna put you back on your feet. Show you the way.